Hello everybody, and welcome to your lunar eclipse video for the partial lunar eclipse in Dhanishtha Nakshatra, which is going to take place on the 7th of August 2017. Lunar eclipses always take place on a full moon, so the exactitude of the full moon is going to be at about 10 minutes past 7 p.m. UK time in terms of when you're going to be able to see the eclipse. If it's visible to you, that's going to vary dependent upon where you're at on the planet. Here in London, that's going to be about 35 minutes past 8 at night. And this eclipse is going to be visible over the southeastern portion of South America, in addition to most of Africa and Europe and most of Asia as well. So let's get down to business and talking about what this particular lunar eclipse is all about, and even what lunar eclipses are all about in general. Might be a good idea to start with what lunar eclipses are all about. So basically, imagine that you have the moon over here. I know it's not really the moon, it's my finger, okay? And imagine you have the earth right here. And imagine you have the sun over here, okay? So basically, when there's a full moon in close proximity to Rahu or Ketu, basically that's when we have a lunar eclipse, and we generally have them twice a year. But with the lunar eclipse, what's happening is the sun is casting the Earth's shadow on the moon. So think, if you will, astronomically about the significance of that. First of all, understand what the moon is, right? The moon can be understood as being manas, or our sensory mind, or our consciousness, or capacity for consciousness. The Earth, well, that's kind of like our Earth-based experience of reality, okay? And the sun, well, we know the sun is the Atman, or the soul. But for all intents and purposes, we want to focus on the moon and the Earth at this particular period of time. Because what's happening is the Earth's shadow is getting cast onto our manas, or our sensory mind. So what that means is our senses aren't picking up on something quite as clearly as we could pick up on that particular set of circumstances, okay? And what particular area of your life is this likely to manifest most in? Well, that depends on a lot of different factors, and if you'd like some information on that, you can schedule an astrological consultation with me by visiting the astrological services page of my website. Okay, but aside from that, there is a particular area of your life that you have been, striving to, for lack of a better way to put it, liberate yourself from. Okay, and basically, if you want to understand what area that is in your life, here's a little clue. It's going to be based around Mars. So if you know a little bit of astrology, look at where Mars rules in your chart. Right? Because that represents some area of your life that there's either some incompatibility with, or something that you're out of sync with, something that's not working. And you're wanting to move on from the fact that this is not working, and you're having a really hard time doing that, right? Why? Because there's an incompatibility with it. Things are out of sync with that, right? And why is it out of sync? Because it's something that you're needing to work out some sort of karmic, I want to use the word karmic drama around, right? You got to kind of get clear on this particular set of circumstances. So why Mars? Before we go into explaining a little bit more of this energy. Well, basically, this particular lunar eclipse is going to form a very close angle to Mars. Right? It's going to form a very sharp aspect to Mars. And Mars is combust because of its proximity to the sun. And when planets are combust and close to the sun, it generally indicates something that the individual is out of sync with, or that they just can't seem to make work in their life, okay? So whilst you are in a position of doing your best and really trying to bring your attention to this particular area and really deeply explore what the potentials are with the situation, because Mars is in Ashadha Nakshatra, as you've got the lunar eclipse in Dhanishtha Nakshatra. And so it's taking you deeper and deeper into a situation. As all this is going on, there's a lot of transformation that's going on for you personally even though it's playing out in this particular area of your life, it's denoted by Mars. Basically, there's a lot of transformation going on in other areas of your life in and around this. And it's really kind of taking you deeper and deeper on a journey that's causing you to explore yourself and figure out what the best way for you to do to change yourself is, so that you can change the situation. Because in order to change the situation, it really kind of hinges around changing yourself. The only thing is as that is going on, due to Mars's influence in the sky and Mars being associated with Dhanishtha Nakshatra, well, rather than just naturally going, you know what, I just need to be by myself, and honor myself in this situation in order to make things work, well, you're feeling a little bit insecure. So you're not having the easiest time doing that, right? Because one part of you wants to feel like, you know what, I can really handle this situation and I can do what's necessary. But you're beginning to kind of lose, right, well, let me kind of paraphrase this next sentence that I'm going to say. Ultimately, you can never lose your dignity. Your dignity is always intact, right? But your perception that you're losing your dignity, that can be affected, right? And your sense of honor is getting affected by this, and it's making you feel insecure. And so you feel like you've got something that you have to prove, right? You feel like you've got something that you have to prove, and you're developing a chip on your shoulder in this situation, which that chip is not going to help you sort things, right? The only way that you're going to get through this in the positive way that you're needing to get through it is if you kind of accept that, you know what, it's okay to not know. It's okay to get things wrong. It's okay to make mistakes, you know, even if sometimes those mistakes affect other people. You know, we're all here going through this karmic journey. Your karma impacts another person's karma, right? And they're interacting with you because they've got karma to work out with you too, right? So all you can really do is your best. And in order to do your best, you don't need to go, I'm, you know, super strong, Mr. Confident or Mrs. Confident, perfect person who's going to get it right every single time, right? And you can't just take all your emotions and kind of squash them to one side in order to get on with it. You've got to respect all of those things. You've got to respect your emotions. You've got to respect that, you know, perhaps you're encountering an identity crisis in association with all of this. You've got to respect the fact that maybe it's going to involve some power conflicts with other individuals, regardless of whether you want that to happen or not. All those things are potentially there. And because in addition to this particular lunar eclipse is also forming an angle to Jupiter in Chitra Nakshatra. This whole situation has you feeling somewhat disillusioned. And so because you're feeling disillusioned with all this particular energy, and because of the lunar eclipse also interacting with Saturn in Mula Nakshatra, it's got you feeling as if you have to be more passionate in order to push up against the boundaries that are restricting you. And you feel that because breaking free of this on a certain level involves convincing another person of, you know, kind of being on board with your decisions and everything like that, you may not be able to convince them of that. Well, that's, you know, even more intensively feeding the chip that's on your shoulder, right? And making it bigger, 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 bigger. You can't see me. Now you can. Okay. And to the point that you're just inviting somebody to knock it off, right? And sure, you know what? None of us like struggle. None of us likes conflict, right? But sometimes it happens, and we, you know, can't really hide from it. And we can't hide from our responsibility to ourselves and our own perception of what we feel our responsibility is to another person. We can only be ourselves. That's perhaps the phrase that you need to remember to bring it all back to center and understand the situation fully, is you can only be yourself. And you're not to blame if being yourself means that you create all these things in your life that don't make your life necessarily happy. You're responsible for your happiness in as much as you have to take the actions that are going to make you happy with yourself. even if those actions mean that you temporarily get in positions that make you feel confused. So again, back to the source of it all, right? Well, actually, on one level, there's something about that. That's what we're all trying to do, subconsciously or consciously, is to get back to the source of it all. But, you know, getting back to the source of all of what I was talking about is the best way to deal with this situation is to be true to yourself, because you've got to live with yourself. You've got to live with yourself. Sure, you may interact with another, but ultimately you've got to live with yourself. And your capacity to live with another and live with the situation that you're facing in life is equally going to revolve around you being able to live with yourself. On a certain level, that's what Dhanishtha Nakshatra is all about. It's about recognizing that just by the very fact that you're born, you're prosperous. So all you have to do is just be. All those other experiences that happen in the meantime, that's just part of it. And you're not going to get it perfect immediately, right? And sure, you may feel like, well, I don't know what's expected of me. All that's expected of you is really just to be yourself in this situation and accept the changes that come about. If you can do that, that's making a step in the right direction towards sorting whatever is going on with Mars in your chart, whatever areas of your chart Mars is ruling. When we were talking about something that you're incompatible with or out of sync with, that's going to take you in the right direction of making the appropriate steps in relation to that. I guarantee you. Okay, and by the time you reach the solar eclipse, which is going to happen a couple of weeks later on the 21st, and that's in Magha Nakshatra, you'll be prepared to do what is necessary in order to let your awareness tune into the situation, because you've already been working on that for the last couple of weeks by the time you reach that point, and to just kind of go, you know what, now is the time to begin to take some of the actions that allow me to get on with it. Now, this is going to affect everybody in different areas of their life, and if you would like for me to take a look at that for you personally, please do feel free to schedule a consultation with me through the Astrological Services page of my website. I do have some consultation spaces available before the 7th of August, and most definitely before the solar eclipse on the 21st of August. That's going to do it for a look at the lunar eclipse in Dhanishtha Nakshatra on the 7th of August, 2017. Until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.